All right. Good morning, YouTube. We're live. How's everybody doing? Everybody survived your weekend? Depending on if who shows up, I guess we'll find out, right? Hope everybody's doing good and checks in at some point. It's been nice here for some nice weather. We had some pretty serious winds, but nothing we can't handle. But we survived that. And hot and dry coming up this weekend around here. We've got, you can see on the map, quite a bit of rain and storms running out from pretty much, if you divided the country in a north and a south and a half. There's snow in the Rockies and Montana, so 01 Crom's digging out of snow again here in June, it looks like. And upper plains are having some serious storms, which always makes you worry about tornadoes. And then you got the rain swathed out there from Illinois out to the ocean. Alberta just covered in rain as well, it looks like. All the way up. So quite unsettled for a June, you may say. Or you may not. But, yeah. So, hey, Walter, good morning. Checking in with us. It's like that weather is just south of you, maybe moving towards you at the moment. Checking in with some of the situations. They got some wildfires kicking up in Colorado, it looks like. It's called the 416 fire, southwestern Colorado. Over 2,000 homes evacuated. So that's going on there. Let's take a look at some of this video. See what's going down.
Evacuated from areas that are affected by this 416 fire. This is in southwestern Colorado. We've now got 2,100 homes that are being evacuated. That's a lot of people. This fire is now burned across 26 square miles. Just to put that in perspective, that's an area bigger than Manhattan. It's only about 10% contained so far. Let me show you what the conditions are around that area right now. You can see this is the drought map, and it's a fire in southwest Colorado we're talking about. Exceptional drought, all right? So not only is it very dry, it's also really hot, it's really windy, and right now we actually don't know what started this fire. By the way, it started on June 1st in the San Juan National Forest, but the good news is that so far no structures have been damaged. We'll keep you updated.
All right, so that's in Colorado. They got that going on, and they also have fire crossing over to New Mexico, it looks like. So it says hundreds of homes are threatened there as well. So is this... So it's one of several: Colorado, New Mexico, and California. We had a couple up here in the last couple of weeks, but they've been rather short-lived and away from populated areas, so that's been good. Ute Park Fire, New Mexico. It's quite the picture there off of Twitter. That fire was 77% contained on Sunday. It burned 57 square miles. Philmont Ranch, where the Boy Scouts go. It destroyed 14 structures there. So fire season is already upon us pretty heavily. Like you mentioned, the drought areas that we've talked about that for the last couple of months, leading out of the winter, where those southern Colorado, southern Utah, northern Arizona, northern New Mexico were in bad shape, weather, drought-wise. So that's out there. Some good links to some pictures and stuff too, if you're into that. And some people are getting too much drought, and some people are worried about too much rain. That hurricane off of Mexico churning around. Tropical storm watch is issued for southwest of Mexico.
Hurricane that we've had in the Eastern Pacific hurricane season.
They say it's tracking towards Cabo San Lucas, it looks like.
More of a threat to land than the last one was out to sea. Right now, we've got a Category 2 storm. We've got some wind gusts up to about 100. There's a chance that throughout the day it could briefly become a Category 3, but it probably won't become much stronger than that. And, you know, if you're living in Cabo San Lucas and you see this cone coming at you, you know there's a hurricane that's at least headed in that direction. You probably think back to 2014. You remember this stuff, Hurricane Odile. It was over $1 billion in damage. I can tell you for sure that this is not going to be a situation like that. You see a lot of wind damage from that one. The good thing about this storm is that it's going to weaken quite a bit as it gets closer to land. Okay, so when you look at the forecast model with the wind, you notice that the wind really dissipates a lot as it gets closer to land. So that's the good news with the storm. But the thing is, there's still going to be a lot of moisture associated with it, especially along the coast of Mexico, kind of the mainland there, not really so much in the peninsula. And I do think eventually some of this moisture could spread into the southwest of the United States and possibly present some flooding issues as we get deeper into the week and the weekend.
And whenever a weatherman says he's sure of something, you can be sure that he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? He said he was sure it's not going to be like that other hurricane. Yeah, I wouldn't take that at face value. But if it does push into the desert southwest, maybe that can help out the New Mexico, Arizona situation drought-wise, depending on how deep it has to push in, etc. Not much in the way of pictures waiting for this thing. So just if you had summer vacation plans for Cabo, be on the lookout. I don't know that I have any need to go south of the border anytime in the next 50 years. So there's two events going on in the weather situation and the current situation. Quite unsettled. Not a peaceful day at all. It doesn't look like coming up for the rest of the week. Hey, New Texican, have a good one. Thanks for checking in. And you're getting rain midweek for you, Walter, potentially, right? Yeah, I'd say all this is just going to flow right into you. Yeah. So on the news side, they've got that summit going on in Singapore, supposedly. Everybody's talking about that coming up with Kim Jong-un and Trump. There was the G6 this past weekend, which was a lot of finger pointing, and I guess the ultimate takeaway is Trump said, "You get rid of ours." Kind of calling everybody out for the tariffs they already have on a lot of their stuff. And they're mad that if emails got shut down by YouTube, we can come back to this. I don't know that anybody doesn't know that, but Brownells got shut down on YouTube, along with a lot of channels seem to get strikes last week as well. Seemed like a lot of the semi-gun channels. It's like we're at the point now where these aren't even big-time channels on the grand scheme of things. The Codaboy, I can't remember his numbers. Codaboy 32. He's in Rich's chats all the time. He got a couple strikes like back to back out of the blue. There was a couple other channels that talked about it this last week. YouTube shenanigans continue. We'll check in. I'll put this link in the bottom. This is out of National Review, but I think most people are kind of up to speed on that. But if you're not, we'll give you a link. Brownells is still on Twitter. They at least haven't offended Twitter, right? Let's go over here. There was the protests in England this past weekend for the, depends on who you talk to or who you listen to. Was it for free speech, or was it a protest of free Spami Robinson or freedom of the press? Everybody has their own angle about what the big issue is there. But things got a little unhinged towards the end. I caught the tail end of one of the live streams as they were chasing this. But basically, the video I saw, the police were getting chased out of the square. So this was after a lot of speeches. They said up to upwards of 20,000 people showed up. It was really good. We talked about it during the Saturday morning chat. We showed some of the live stream. The Dutch politician Geert Wilders came in and made a pretty good speech. And I guess after things were starting to clear out, somebody pushed somebody said something, and the police got the worst end of the deal at first until they secured a perimeter, I guess. So here might be a good video. This is obviously linked through Zero Hedge, but they're going to have several different videos here, it looks like. It says a squad of riot police blocking the gate down the mall leading to Buckingham Palace got into a scuffle, appeared to throw bottles, traffic cones, and metal barriers at the officers. So they wanted to go tell the Queen how they felt, and the police didn't want to do that. Got to go to the source of the problem if you're going to solve the problem, right? Pull this up a little. This looks like it's on a mobile, so it's not going to be as high a quality as some of the others. Let's try it. So it was an attack, counter-attack situation. I saw a little bit of that when they had the police on the run. I didn't see the counterattack there. Looked like that was a little bit less covered. But it's interesting. The British politeness is starting to go away. You can even see them trying to negotiate with each other, even as they're throwing things and swatting people with, what do you call those, batons or whatever? Yeah, police baton, I guess is what it's called. They're still like negotiating with her, like, hey, whatnot. But they had the police in full-on tuck, tail, and run mode. And this is a whole different section of the protest here than the other video I saw. And this is off of RT. People are not happy. This was in the main area, as a matter of fact, from where RT was videoing from. Hey, good morning, Castaway. How's it going? Tommy Boy 9, how's it going? It's like you got quite a bit of rain heading out your way. We were looking at earlier on the weather. I got to remember to keep this to the shortened version. The last couple have been long chats. This is going to be a standard short one, so I got to keep looking at the clock to make sure I'm not dragging this on, or that I get everything in the time. But some interesting video out of England. This is, again, they estimated about 20,000 people. The key is, I think this needs to spread to about 30 other cities in England, and they might get some action on something. Here's a Twitter link on this article as well. It's like some of that same video. A little bruised up there. They close the article with this paragraph out of there. And it's written by Gert Wilders wrote this, it looks like, in the National Review. The whole subject is so ugly and uncomfortable that very few people care to linger over it. Robertson is an exception. For him, as he said in a 2011 interview with the BBC's Jeremy Paxman, the grooming gangs issue isn't something that affects some far-off towns, but people in the working class communities that he knows. And while there are journalists, notably the Times, Andrew Norfolk calls him out, who have spent considerable time and energy bringing this appalling phenomenon to light, most of British society has turned away in a combination of embarrassment, disgust, and uncertainty about how to even talk about this. Anyone who thinks Britain is much further along with dealing with the taboo of grooming gangs should remember that only last year the Labour MP for Rotherham, Sarah Champion, had to leave the shadow cabinet because she accurately identified the phenomenon. So going back to what originally caused some of this, as we previously reported, a group of 29 defendants are being tried for historical sex offenses, split into 3 trials. Robinson was arrested at the second trial, while the first is ongoing. There you go. That's the hard thing about a lot of these things, is keeping focused on really what the original issue was to begin with. It's more than just freedom of speech and free press. It's about, they only have free press for certain issues. You can't cover Muslims raping kids. It's not allowed. That was the original issue. Walter, that's a mystery. I don't have an answer for that. Why the British police why they called bobbies, but they carry billy clubs. Well, maybe they're bobbies, but they hit Billy with clubs. Their clubs are for Billy. It's a good question. Hey, TR Prepper, how's it going? Good morning. You guys had a good chat the other evening. I think it was, yeah, I saw you on Rich's chat, right? That was good. I didn't see on Scotsman's chat. Sometimes I get all those confused, but pretty sure that when I saw you and it was Rich's chat was you had some good stuff. Moving on, kind of winding down. Remember, you have links in the description box below. We only want to bring you the most important information. So this seemed to be very important. I didn't want to make sure nobody missed out. Mapping the price of a pint around the world. So if you want to make your map and make sure you know where to go with how much cash on hand, they've made it easy here. And this is based on Deutsche Bank analysis, apparently. A critical data on how much a pint of beer costs in various major cities around the world. We're going to have to bring this graphic up because this is important. And so it's based off of Visual Capitalist did an article on it as well, based upon the Deutsche Bank report. Obviously, the lighter color is better. To no somebody's surprise, Mexico City. It'd be nice if they'd do something out of sight of the big city. I don't want to go into big cities. What's the price outside of town? That's where the action's at anyway. The cheapest pint they say is in Manila for $1.50, and it's probably Red Horse. Red Horse will give you a headache if you've never had it. Maybe some San Miguel mixed in there. San Miguel will get you through the day, I guess. So if you want cheap beer, go to Manila in Philippines. Or if you're the rich guys and you want to hang out with the high movers, Dubai at $12 a pint. And these are probably not even hotel bar prices. This is probably on the street price. So that's an interesting factoid for you if you're doing your world travels. Of course, all the big cities in the US are in the $9 range, it looks like. It's like you can go to Warsaw in Poland and Portugal for some relatively cheap in Europe, with Austria and parts of Germany being a little bit cheaper, but not below $3, that's for sure. South Africa has cheap beer, but they don't have water. So that's kind of a deterrent. You got to have a little bit of balance. You need some water to go with your beer. Australia is quite expensive, it looks like, for your Newcastle and whatnot. So I don't think anybody wouldn't want to know this. So we would put it out there for you. Everybody does like to travel in the summer. Oslo, Norway, 1030, at number 2. So I guess this is an average, I would imagine, that they base this on. But 1030, goodness. Hong Kong, all the big cities where you don't want to go are expensive. Zurich, Switzerland, New York, San Francisco, Paris, etc. on down. So it even breaks it down. Though it's worth noting that the data collection focuses on expatriate read touristy areas of the city. While that's not a perfect picture of prices in a city, it allows for a more consistent comparison of wildly differing markets. Right. So there's your stat breakdown. Important information. Yeah, right, TR Prepper, you're some oil magnate out there with Saudi princes rolling through Dubai, doing things in Dubai you can't do at home. Either that or you've been on a ship for 6 months and this is your first port you've been in your whole cruise, and you're stuck there. That's when you just do beer on the pier. It ain't worth going out in town. So information you want to know. What else is going on out there? We did talk about the Brownells thing. We hit that up at the very beginning. There's a link below, but they were terminated this weekend. Brownells put it out there on Twitter, etc. They give contact information for Google, how to get through their options to message YouTube and Google about the situation. And if anybody knows Brownells, they're about the most mild gun manufacturer. Like they just sell stuff. Parts and reloading parts and everything else. Yeah, this guy got it exactly right here off of Twitter, John Stokes. I gotta say something else about this. Brownells is like the stoogiest, old schoolest, non-tactical, non-assault rifle, old hunting guy brand in the gun world. When your platform has summarily executed Brownells, you've just gone too far. That sums it up right there. That's exactly what Brownells is. The least tacticalist of all the gun manufacturer parts people. Definitely focus on shotgun, bird hunting, etc. 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 Let me get this link down here in the chat real quick. Is it up already, TR? Brownells got their channel back already? Well, that was quick. That didn't take long at all. It's like they're just prodding the bear, isn't it? Yeah, that's interesting. Well, that's good, I guess you'd say. It's probably just some 19-year-old tech intern who just pushed the wrong button, made the wrong decision, right? You think YouTube would come out with one of those stories like you hear about stories where these emergency management agencies are sending out these emergency alerts on accident. Like all these channel cancellations on YouTube are just the same thing. Lack of attention to detail, right? Just somebody's pushing the wrong button, hitting delete instead of enter or something. If it was only that easy. You just saw that they got their channel back a few minutes ago. Was that on? You see it on YouTube? You see it on the news somewhere? That's cool though. I guess you'd say that's a win for the good guys, right? You just seen it on Facebook. Okay. We'll search around for a link or something, but anybody out there that's watching this on the back end, it looks like that's already been retracted. I guess we could search for Brownells on YouTube. I wasn't subscribed to them anyway. It's funny. I'm subscribed to Jeep Parts on YouTube, Jeep Parts companies, but I'm not subscribed to any gun parts companies. Interesting. Hey, Castaway. Yeah, the censorship seems to be going in waves. I don't know if it gets worse. It just hits and miss at weird times on weird channels for weird reasons. But it's only the right? Has any left anything on the communist socialist side been censored? It doesn't seem like it, right? So the big summit's still going. Nobody's backed out yet. There was a Triple Crown winner this weekend up in Emlong. I'm sure that affects the economy of Kentucky, racehorse breeding and such. Another crypto exchange has been hacked. I didn't see that earlier. Bitcoin plunges after cryptocurrency exchange is hacked. This is out of the UK Guardian article. Security fears rise as South Korea's Coincheck loses about 28 million pounds of virtual currency. So that's a little bit over 30 million US at least. And this is today. Where's the date? Why don't people date their articles anymore? The best known cryptocurrency lost $500 in an hour, dropping to 6,627. So it's still well below 7,000. So dropped back below 7,000 where it was trying to get back to 10,000 there for a while. But the crypto hacking scams and business is booming. So fair warning to all in that arena. You're subject to some very nefarious people who are both controlling the market and undermining it and hacking it. Which one do you want to be at the beck and call of? Wall Street Journal reported Friday that U.S. regulators were investigating potential price manipulation at 4 major cryptocurrency exchanges. This comes 6 months after CME Group launched Bitcoin futures. Coinbase, Bitstamp, Itbit, and Kraken have been asked to share trading. Those are all trading platforms. They're asked to share trading data related to the future contracts. So if you haven't been paying attention to Bitcoin, there's the update. It doesn't make sense to stay involved in that. Speculation at its best, I guess you would say. So this was the other link off of Drudge. Will the Fed set off a recession alarm? I thought they already did. When the Fed said they would not mess with interest rates and that they would let inflation run, I thought that was a pretty clear signal that it's either Fed inaction or recession because they can't act. So you're going to get inflation. And then you can get the recession at the end of the inflation. So they just said last week or last month that they weren't going to mess with interest rates. They were going to let inflation run. That was literally like a month ago. Expected rate increase this week. Let's see what they say here. The Fed seems all but certain to raise its target rate range on overnight rates by a quarter point for the second time this year on Wednesday. There's a good chance it ups its estimate for total rates from 3 to 4. So speculating around interest rates, falling unemployment affecting that decision. What else? Let's move down. Rate increases from 3 to 4 may not mean much to investors, but it matters a lot for the yield curve, which is edging closer toward inverting and being basically flat before that, which is still a bad sign. And that's the situation where short-term interest rates are higher than long-term interest rates. That is a long-standing signal that a recession is coming. And we've been talking about this for a couple months now. Something to keep an eye on. and you can follow that on CNBC's and link through that, but they also break it down here. The 2-year has climbed from 2.5 to 2.31. The 10-year Treasury yield of 2.94 is basically level where it was in March. Difference between the 10-year and the 2-year is just 0.4 percentage points, the smallest gap in over a decade. They should show a graph when they talk about things like this. It makes it much harder for average people to really understand. But a rate increase kind of counteracts what the Fed said last month. But here at the bottom, it says the Fed can't hold off on rate increases it thinks are necessary just because of what the yield curve is doing. That risks falling behind and then raising rates even more aggressively later and making the yield curve invert even more. The chairman is Mr. Powell. Somebody was asking me who the Fed chair was the other day. I couldn't remember his name. Mr. Powell. So used to Janet Yellen for so long that, and Ben Bernanke and whatnot. So Jerome Powell is the current Federal Reserve manipulator. This is a chart of the 10-year versus the 2-year, comparatively speaking. But to get a simple picture of where we're at on inversion, I can click through the 10-year over here, and usually they have a graph below. But of course not today. Oh, of course not. Or is it loading? There we go, yield curve. So they put the yield curve in pretty simple. 3-month, 6-month, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 30-year. It's interesting because your yield price stays low, the yield percentage amount stays low, the more money that gets put into it. They raise the yield when they're not getting the money they want for that year of bond, if that makes any sense. So everybody's willing to give the government their money for 30 years apparently, which doesn't make any sense. But there's that breakdown. Something to think about, pay attention to, I guess, if you know about the economic situation. Oh, TR, did you have a answer? Bobby's in England is a reference to the man who came up with this, Richard. Oh, okay. Now we know. Good job, TR. People that, everybody that invented the Billy Club as well, or was the Billy Club because they were hitting billies with it? Was it for hitting, maybe? All right, folks, that's a wrap up. Hope everybody starts your week. We'll be checking in with you later. Yeah, and also for the morning streams, I think what we're going to schedule from now on is we're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday morning chats. We're going to forego days, simplicity's sake and my laziness, I guess. But the schedule of the morning chats is going to not be daily. We're going to set it at Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and roll with that moving forward and see how that plays out. But just mixing it up a little bit, see if we can do a little more regular videos and whatnot. So just if you're looking at checking in the mornings or anything, just know that you can set your alarm clock by it for those 3 days, 4 days a week instead of the daily. Oh, and one other thing, Bikes and Bullets put out a link here. This is also in the bottom of your description box. It's a quarterly report. He had commented on the G Plus, and I just wanted to share it. He dug into it a little bit. It's 276 pages, so it's obviously in depth, but it's a report about the reconstruction of Afghanistan for 2014. It has some stuff about bank failure and opium and stuff like that. I think what he was getting at is some of the opium influence in the economy and us having to prop that up to prop up the Afghan economy. But if you wanted to look into a tie between all that stuff that's in this Inspector General report that's in your description box. So that information's there for you if you want to look into it, give you a nugget of knowledge for you. All right, everybody have a good day. Live free.